for depression, psychedelic medicines have come out as a very strong, option for people. But again, every time I kind of try to paint a very brighter picture that we can achieve with cannabis, it always ends with the fact that we need to be given more freedom to do our work diligently, right? There's a bunch of people who wants to really make sure that the plant, gets the due fame and the due name, in the most scientific possible way. But the regulators have to trust us.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Leisurely Baatein. My guest today is a very innovative entrepreneur who started a company which we all will be very excited to listen and hear from him. Let us welcome Sumit to Leisurely Baatein. Sumit, welcome to Leisurely Baatein. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for inviting. I'm doing really good. So happy to be here and talking about the journey and company and obviously whatever and wherever the discussion and the conversation goes.
Absolutely. I mean, as the name suggests, we're going to absolutely have a leisurely baatein and take it from there.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Sumit, the first thing that came to my mind, the question I have is, what made a biotech engineer working as a data science specialist choose such a unique, product space for the startup?
Before jumping into that, I'll give you a bit about myself.
Sure.
So, I started Happy Hemp. Happy Hemp is a medical cannabis company focused on cannabis leaf and hemp seed products for mental health and pain management and personal care.
Right.
Yes, I mean, true. It's been a bit of a this and that, as you made rightly. So I kind of joined biotechnology in Manipal as a very keen interest into genetics and all those aspects. However, over a period of time, on a very honest note, I realized that it is not possible to have a fulfilling career in data scientist unless you get a PhD. And frankly, at the time of enrollment, I did not, agree to this. In general, I mean, I had no idea about this.
Right.
We all have this story going on in our head, but in reality, is a bit different. So, luckily, in the same process of my undergrad, I came across decision making with data and numbers, and that was very interesting for me. That kind of developed into an entire career for me as a data scientist. However, one thing that has remained very common across my career is the focus on impact-driven ventures. So either at a micro level or at a macro level, all the ventures that I've worked for, there's a very strong, impact element with them. So the first company, and throughout my career, I've worked in startups, okay, or a company slightly, ahead
Matured
from the startup, slightly mature, even still in the definition of the government startup, definition of a government startup. But anyway, so first one was on energy management, the second one was on commuter aggregation, and the third one was on financial inclusion. And this company I've started is with my college friends. We've been iterating around multiple ideas from a very long time. What to do, what not to do. We evaluated several business opportunities, but then we just could not find something which we felt that this is to be done. This is it. When you do a startup, you need to get this notion hitting you directly that this is it. Okay, but it never happened with any of the prior ventures. Now, one day, I guess thanks to social media, I would give that to social media, I came to know about hemp. Now, I still remember reading that post is that hemp-derived bioplastics hemp-made bioplastics are 100% biodegradable. The moment I read the question, I was like, why are we not making all the plastics out of the plant, of this plant, of hemp actually, right? And immediately I searched HEMP, enter, and what I see is that ye to ganja hai. What is it? I believe my first reaction was, ye to ganja hai, cannabis hai. We make plastics out of it. And one thing that has already happened or that I knew is that cannabis has a role in cancer care, cancer treatment. This also I knew from the medicinal point of view, but then I never pursued it to know a lot because there was a huge stigma around it. Cannabis, that's something which we all are familiar with, and there are multiple herbs, which have a medicinal property to it. So just stigma wrapped the entire goodness and never let us or even anyone to think beyond that and to even explore that. So I realized that there's more to this plant than actually we know it, and I exhaustively started to study the plant, whatever aspect it may come, industrial, medicinal, and anything and everything about it. So key important things I found out, I'll tell you, is that the Ajanta and Ellora caves, they use hempcrete for the restoration of the whatever the sculptures are made.
Oh, wonderful.
There's a published journal about it. There's a published journal about it.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
So interesting, and so is like that. How can something be so prominent in front of our own eyes and we just never knew it? Right? We all talk about Ajanta and Ellora caves. Everybody knows, it's a heritage site, and yet this very fundamental thing we just did not know. Like you feel like how can you be so this useless that you don't know?
Well hidden secret.
Exactly, in plain sight. Secrets in plain sight. And then obviously the entire aspects of so many aspects. So if I just may talk about a plant a bit, is that it is considered as a zero waste plant, as in every part of the plant has some or the other use cases which is good for entire humankind, entire planet. You take the buds, or you take the flowers, and you take the seeds. Now seeds are considered one of the superfood forms. The hemp seeds, you make oil out of it, hemp seed oil we call it. They are good for your body, for your hormonal management. You take the buds and flowers, you make medicines out of it. The scope of medicine is endless. We can talk about it as well. You take the stem, you use the outer bark of it to create fabrics. There are companies in India making clothes out of the cannabis plant, hemp fabric. Then you use the inner bark, also called as shiv herds or hemp herds, to make the hempcrete out of it. And there's a company in India making hempcrete as well. So obviously once you get a fiber, you can make anything out of the fiber. So many possible things which can be made with the fiber. So once we were able to understand what all things the plant can do, we kind of were convinced that anything we do is going to be about this plant. This is it for us. This plant is the future. This plant kind of fulfills the very centric idea that we all have, is that whatever we do has to be a very strong impact indicator. When you talk about the seeds, you talk about offering a very protein-rich protein-rich food supplies. The world is protein deficient. There's a whole this whole thing is coming out very strong. Fibers, or having cleaner alternatives, either in terms of energy. You can make actually fuels out of it as well, biofuels. You can use the vegetable oil, the hemp seed oil can be used. So many impact indicators were there into the plant. We iterated around them and figured out that medicine is something that we believe is going to be strongly aligned to in terms of catering the challenges. If you put across the current scenario, when I purely bring to either mental health or pain management, the medicines which dominate the market are actually lethal in nature. If I say that नींद की गोली खा के X ने आत्महत्या की, this is a very familiar news headline that we have somewhere or the other heard about it, like people overdosing on sleeping pills. Prescription medicines overdoses has been death reason for many superstars that we know, right? So it became one of the most safer alternative for mental health and pain management challenges, minus the all the negative,
The
long term. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more dangerous than any product being lethal, right?
Right.
So this kind of summarizes who we are, and frankly speaking, what we are trying to build is not very different from a biotechnology.
Right.
We call ourselves a biotechnology company because when you take medical cannabis, there are multiple elements to it. There's a seed genetics to it, okay, right? What the final product will have depends on the seeds, sanitization and breeding of it, right? The entire downstreaming process of medicine manufacturing, right? The purification part, and then obviously the entire marketing and distribution comes into picture. So we are very corely dependent upon following a biotechnology approach, as well as research takes a very strong forte into us, because we are making medicines which needs to show efficacy, right? Currently we are working on 2 research papers. One is focused purely on the efficacy of the product. The other one is mostly on the mental health side, kind of using similar information but different macro level storytelling around it. So this kind of sums up, and obviously data is something that every company generates, and obviously this kind of becomes a very added advantage of myself, that I can actually look into information that we are collating and generating and figure out, okay, let's try to do some or the other analysis we can do, right? Some bit of inventory planning, or probably anything from the consumer analytics part.
Right. And now very very inspiring. And I think one thing that you mentioned about the impact part of it, and surely has a lot of impact. And there is so much of taboo around it. One question which I wanted to ask on my behalf, and also for the viewers who are watching this, is you mentioned about 2 terms, hemp and cannabis. Is there a difference?
Now, yes. Now, let me go from the very top. So, cannabis is the mother, is like the mother family, you can call it, and there are different kinds of subspecies. So there are 3 major subspecies: Cannabis indica, Cannabis sativa, and Cannabis ruderalis. Now, hemp. Now, the hemp is a common word for cannabis, sativa plant, because its majority use cases for the industrial point of view. Okay, using the stem for the fibers part of it. However, the evolving term is industrial hemp, where you limit the THC content. THC is the psychoactive compound of the plant, and you grow it purely for the industrial aspects. Now, nowadays, when people use the term hemp, they by default assume that it's a low THC plant. But however, in Indian context, even the high THC plant are referred as hemp. And frankly speaking, if you go back to 1940s, 1950s, the concept of a THC limit was not there. Hence, people growing cannabis, sativa plant purely for industrial use cases, they start calling it hemp. However, in the recent time, it has kind of taken up the entire limiting THC. Marijuana or weed, grass, etc., it refers to the entire flower and buds. And again, as I said, from the Indian context, it can come from the hemp plant, as well as we don't really define it based on the THC limit, mostly from what we use in terms of industrial use cases. So this remains. It's become slightly confusing. Even I was confused for a very long period of time. What are you calling this? What are you calling that? So even in my initial days, I had this conviction that hemp is a 0.3 THC plant. That's all, but which was incorrect, frankly speaking. And I had to kind of unlearn a couple of things that in my initial days I figured out, because majority of the population started writing and started assuming hemp as the low THC plant, but it's just that the entire process is a continuous learning effect.
Right. I mean, the decision to start such a unique area of, to choose certain, the whole product base, or, the raw materials, is very unique. And were you ever in two minds? Just before you were taking a plunge, were there any challenges that you faced from a family point of view when you told them that this is what you're doing? From becoming a data scientist or a biotech engineer, you're starting a startup, which is, in a layman's term, has a connotation of ganja.
So, interesting things, a lot of things happened actually. So, as I told you, right, I believe in 2019, February, March, we started iterating around hemp. And immediately I told my parents that I'll be doing something, on those lines. I believe June 2019, I told my parents. Back then I was working for Zipgo.
Right.
So they were like, cool, let's see what happens now. You say a lot of things, and saying and doing is a complete two ends of life, right?
Right.
And I believe they saw me buy some machineries. I bought some home cold press oil extraction machines. So they saw me doing a couple of things over a period of time. And then I believe I had to ditch the idea for a while because the startup I was working for, the investor decides to shut it down. So while my entire process was around figuring out products of hemp and etc., I had to actually go back to a job search.
Sure.
Right? Because back then we did not have a very complete conviction around the product that we want to make, nor we had any regulatory company found anything has happened. We were still in the idea stages. So I had to take up a job. But then it was just a very different, a very anxious life, couple of months for me, that knowing that I was supposed to be working in hemp and seeing couple of, I believe that was a time when Himachal Pradesh made an announcement that they will legalize cannabis cultivation for medicines. So a couple of things happened, and then also Madhya Pradesh did the same thing, that they will legalize the industrial hemp cultivation. And here I was, doing something very else. I was very frustrated. So the good part is that my family knew that I was iterating around them. It was not a very surprising news for them to just digest all of a sudden. And one day I just decided to quit, and it's just that we did not even have the idea purely developed around what we will be doing. As I said, the first love of ours was to start with the bioplastics. However, it's slightly difficult to execute from a supply chain point of view in India. And one thing particularly is that in my family, they know bhang. Okay. So, bhang, dhatura, belpatra. Right. This is a very strong religious inclination in our family. Right. So, having an understanding of bhang was there. Okay. Now, the next step for the conviction was the regulatory aspect.
Right.
Okay. Whether it's doable or not. So I spoke to a lot of people from the space, kind of communicated same to them as well. Okay, I remember my father and I, we went to meet one of the drug inspector. Okay, and he kind of gave us a very clear understanding that it is a doable thing, because whatever we are executing on a legal license given by the central government's laws and acts. Right. So getting that thing, that coming out from someone who is a regulatory person was convincing enough. However, things are not in a very straightforward. If you remember, I believe 2020, during the COVID time, there was this whole drug news that was roaming due to the suicide of an actor. The whole chapter that started kind of created so much tension in the family that even though you're doing everything in a legal aspect, some people may make false accusations. So many chapters has happened that I have to kind of have this family discussions around the same thing. However, I believe once I executed it, right, and once I started to move slowly, and this kind of fitted in a picture, and then obviously the news goes away. more and more pro cannabis news started to come up, because once people started talking about the cannabis, a larger section also started to write in favor of the cannabis. Okay. The whole Himachal, I think a lot of media outlets have published the Himachal Pradesh news at least 5 to 6 times over a period of 2-3 months. So all these progress that was coming up in the news, and now I believe in a very recent, this week's development is that the central government may decriminalize personal consumption of drugs. Okay, currently in India, even possession of a smaller quantity and consumption of smaller quantities are punishable offense. It is likely that we may just decriminalize it. Okay, so that's going to be a very huge step towards how we have seen cannabis and perceived cannabis. So, this was kind of a mixed bag of doing things in my family and convincing them they knew bhang. They know that bhang is like just you get it outside your house. It's available in abundance. You offer to God. Holi has a very strong, is one of the most
iconic.
Exactly. 100%. So both ends happen, and over a period of time, we kind of both align to the fact that this is something that you have to do now. Is that you kind of create this thing to a much of a bigger venture over a period of time.
No, that's good. I mean, in all this, what comes out very evident, like most entrepreneurs, is the passion. That you speak with, and that really is very visible. And without, I think, the passion, I don't think what you are trying, or what you set out to achieve, I think the first step would be very difficult to even take, because it's very unconventional.
It's very unconventional. Yeah, it's very unconventional.
And I'm sure there are a lot of challenges, because the raw materials, the sourcing, the supply chain, the kind of legalities, or kind of like it's not something that is very widely available. The kind of research assuming that you had to do from a legal aspect, and even from a sourcing aspect to the processing. I'm sure there've been a lot of challenges. So talk us through some of them if it is
absolutely.
With you.
It's good for people to know, right, how
and that's precisely why I wanted to ask this, because there's so much of stigma, and that's where we need to orient or educate. And you use the word the benefit from mental health, and I know a lot of people who have mental health issues, and especially overseas, and who are using CBD oils, and they've been it's giving them a very good positive impact. And I'm saying this with the disclaimer that I'm not a doctor. It's just what I'm hearing. But it's important from now that we are connected, for our audience to understand the sourcing part of it, the legalities of it, the whole the supply chain. Just like as drugs are manufactured, and there are lots of supply chain, or lots of raw materials that are sourced. This is a product where you need to source raw materials, and that's something which I and my audience would be very keen to hear.
No, it's very interesting actually. As you said, even though things are very much available in black and white, a lot of people majority of them are not aware, as the entire film of stigma surrounds it. Okay, and trust me, there are a lot of older brands who are making similar kinds of medicines. Okay, so I'll talk about that as well. So,
please.
One of the, as you call, the war on drugs. So in India, in 1985, the NDPS Act was, came into existence, that criminalized cultivation, consumption, and possession of cannabis. However, in that definition of cannabis, what they've done is they have beautifully removed leaf and seeds out of it. Okay, so anything that you talk about it, or you make a law about it, you first, define, right? You define the thing. In the definition of cannabis leaf and cannabis seeds are excluded. So when you look at the legal framework, they are not part of they're not cannabis. Okay, that's a very interesting thing that India has done it. So it's more like that. Even though we want to bring a law on cannabis, we just don't want to fully fully do it. Right? I feel like it's a very half-hearted law that was brought into picture, especially catering to cannabis. So in Ayurveda, there's multiple angles and multiple things that associates cannabis as we associate. It's a plant that is deeply rooted in our culture and our medicinal aspects as well. So Ayurveda has a very strong use case. Cannabis has a very strong use case when it comes to Ayurvedic medicines. In Ayurveda, it is referred as Vijaya. Vijaya is the conqueror, is the word that that kind of comes down to. And there are some classical formulations of medicines, in Ayurveda. These classical formulations are the one that are from the texts, that are, well recorded, documented, and in them there are 191 formulations that uses cannabis leaf as an API. Okay. And they are for fever, they are for tuberculosis, sleep, for bowel motions, so on and so forth. Like so much to know. And this probably, I believe, the entire Ayurvedic angle, as well as the entire cultural aspect of the holy or the religious aspect, kind of force the regulators not to include cannabis leaf in the definition of the cannabis. And then there are, and in this NDPS Act, just probably I'll cover the NDPS Act first and then move to other acts, is that even though the consumption, cultivation, and possession of cannabis is illegal, the definition of medical cannabis exists. Okay, which means that the government agencies have defined, or I would say, open up a space or open up a channel of a medicinal use. However, as medicines and health policies remain a state, objective, they needs to be implemented by the individual state governments. And in the same time, in the same NDPS Act, state governments have all the autonomous to kind of formulate their own policies as well. Now, this is something which gets reflected in many states in how they have adopted cannabis. For example, states like Madhya Pradesh, UP, Odisha, they have created a very strong supply chain of cannabis leaf. Okay, and these supply chain are led by the state finance department, state revenue departments. They are responsible for ensuring that the bhangs or the cannabis leaf is collected and is distributed to the or the license holders. Okay, so there is an NDPS Act and there is a national policy on the NDPS Act. Okay, so the national policy on the NDPS Act states that all the widely growing cannabis plants in India needs to be destroyed by the state excise department, except the cannabis leaf, which can be given to the manufacturers, which can be given to the bhang thekidars or doctors as per the quota they have it. So an individual, not an individual, as a doctor or a manufacturer or a bhang thekedas, as you know, in the UP, it's just so many thekas, bhang thekas are available. They can apply for excise license and they can ask for a quota of the bhang. Okay, and the state department, based on a predefined price, they can buy it from the state revenue department. This is how it flows into a system. Sure. Now, the second step is the manufacturing aspect of the medicines. We deal with the Ayurvedic medicines, and we very strongly follow the Drug and the Cosmetic Acts. Okay, and in the Drug and the Cosmetic Acts, cannabis leaf is very well documented as an API, can be used. Licenses can be taken from any government, the state government, state Ayush ministries. We hold a license as well. At the same time, you need to make sure that there's a GMP compliant, infrastructure, all the regulatory requirement to infrastructure, because all you're doing is you're accessing a raw material, okay, and obviously creating and going via the excise to procure it is one journey. Then you obviously manufacture it under the license, under a GMP facility, and then you distribute it depending upon whatever distribution channel you have it. You have your doctors led or clinic led, or if you're looking at a external use case product, that's also can go from the pharmacies. So that remains a very three major key elements of sourcing. Right. Majority of cannabis, or probably all of the cannabis, is from the wildly growing. It is estimated that around 60% of Indian districts have wild growth of cannabis leaf.
Right.
So, it's been flowing in the system from a very long time. So many people, so many thekas exist, so many medicine manufacturers exist, and hoping that probably a better policy in coming future, either from if the subjected change in the NDPS Act happens, it will at least detach the stigma. Right. And maybe more and more doctors can prescribe it in a much confidence, right? I mean, because the taboo exists for everyone, right. For consumers, for for doctors, equivalently, right? And because doctors has this fear that can I have it in my clinic or not? Can I store it in my clinic or not? It follows both ways, right. And obviously much better cultivation policy will help that we can cater better medicines to consumers. One of the challenge, or one of the thing to understand, is that not every cannabis will give the similar effect to everyone, right? I mean, if you know that different people have a different, even a liquor capacity, right? Different dietary habits, or respond differently to anything purely on the biology. And cannabis works very closely with the biology of human body, right? And the amount of phytocannabinoids are present in them, the naturally occurring chemicals, will define how you react to it. And once the cultivation is allowed, we can create strains that can actually target masses. And the interesting part, I'll just probably take an extension of is that even though India is still moving, in this cannabis journey of getting new age startups coming up, a lot of, maybe state kind of considering seriously to legalize cannabis. A lot of countries, as you mentioned, right, the states have done it. A lot of people of yours, friends of yours, are using CBD oil for different mental, health things. But a lot of challenge exists in terms of economic accessibility of the product. Now, across the globe, cannabis medicines are heavily overpriced. Okay, and India as a country has the ability to offer good quality cannabis or medicines at a very competitive pricing. Now, if India kind of understands this and materializes in a policy that is heavily export driven, be it a consumer led or be it a B2B businesses, we can probably potentially be the biggest cannabis supply chain hub for the entire globe. Currently, the industrial hemp is led by China, only the industrial hemp, but the medicines are so expensive that even though people are finding it useful, they are unable to afford it on a longer term, right? So I guess the next global acceptance can happen once India take the responsibility to offer good quality medicines at an affordable pricing. So I hope whatever we hear, we constantly are in touch with people across the regulatory framework. And we understand, this becomes highly political topic as well when it comes to the, regulatory framework. Exactly, very sensitive. I remember Goa making an announcement that they will legalize medical cannabis. The CM is an Ayurvedic doctor. Okay, right. So but then the political things get hit up, and they had to take a step back on that. So,
but a lot of this, Sumit, is to do with the ignorance. While speaking with you, there are so many things that I have been able to learn, and know. And I think a lot of this is like, well, from a mass representation perspective, is, it's only the stigma side of it, or the recreational side of it, which has been very well marketed or very well advertised. And I think that is something which probably is to take a blame for the value that, from a medicinal perspective, it can bring in. And also, it has a huge economic impact, as you were explaining, as I understood. So absolutely, it's really interesting to, you get to understand this.
No, I mean, there has been a very deliberate negative marketing around cannabis plant. That is something very evidently visible. There are so many posters that were floated around in 1940s, 50s, 60s to just call it a devil's smoke or whatnot. Right? I mean, the fact that it has so many use cases, and it's just a plant that you can grow at your home, right, can kill so many industries. Right. I mean, opioid crisis is something that Canada, US are fighting. India is also, dealing with it. And cannabis is something which comes out very strongly, right, as an alternative. So there has been, a strong lobby against cannabis plant. A lot of people, those who use even medicinal cannabis and are a smoker or a drinker, their consumption of liquor and tobacco has decreased. Okay, and now I think there are some published data as well. I think I am pretty confident about it. Opioid consumption has decreased. It's fairly a published information, and as well as for tobacco and liquor, I believe there's also some sort of a collated data that is out there. So it kills multiple industries. So
there's a much wider impact.
Much wider impact.
The politics behind it is probably warrants a Netflix series coming up. I was, watching this program. It's, I saw it on YouTube, but it actually came on CNN, called The Weed, by a very famous journalist. And it was very interesting, just, leading up to our conversation, I thought, let me just, orient myself with a little bit of medical cannabis. So, this came up as part of my, primary research. And it was very interesting for me to, watch that. I don't know if you have seen it, but there are a lot of, users of these medical cannabis medicines. People who are suffering from seizures and other serious ailments are getting so much of benefit out of it. And, as opposed to, expensive drugs, which are available in the market with a lot of potential side effects. And, they actually showed a couple of instances of people who were like, in the middle of a seizure, and they had a regulated amount of medical cannabis, and it was like it was very visible, the kind of improvement that we saw on the camera or in the part of the show. So what I would like to understand is your take on this, and also from Happy Hemp's perspective, walk us through some of the products that our users or the audience could benefit from, and where they could find more details about your products.
So, since you used the word seizure, I'll start with that. And not just that, I'll probably bring, toddlers or, those into consideration. There's a very famous strain, Charlotte's Web. Now, this is developed is named after a child named Charlotte Figi. She was having a Dravet syndrome. It's a rare form of epilepsy, and there's no modern medicine treatment available for it. And the family went for this kind of a strain. They kind of, I believe, iterated towards. It's a high CBD and low THC strain, right? And it reduced the entire seizures occurring, for her. And this kind of became like a big realization, for the entire fraternity, that how good the plant can be, right? And this is one example. I have a 6-year-old patient, autistic patient as well, right? So the product help him as well. I think I've seen people from various ailments from, I believe, 6 to 87 years of old, using the product for different conditions, and so far all I've received is a positive response. So mental health, as I said, is a very prominent part in the current society that has come up as a challenge. Just before this call, I was reading an article on, I believe, India Today, Times of India, that majority of the unicorn and the successful, well-funded startup founders are having some or the other mental health problems because of the immense pressure of the growth or of turning the venture into profitability. Exactly. So much is out there. Anyway, this kind of wraps around the entire anxiety or mood disorders that we are prominently known. However, there are so many use cases and published information for rare conditions, untreatable diseases, where cannabis helps in maintaining, a healthy life, improving the quality of life. We have seen Parkinson's patients get benefit out of it. It helps in dementia. As I said, we can maximize the efficacy of the medicines once we have the ability to create different strains, that can probably cluster for a group of conditions or group of people, right? We need to take it very in those aspects, because one strain may not work out for everyone, although the solution is widespread. Okay, and trust me, there are so many things that I did not know, and I am learning from the patients because they have done their own research about their condition they're suffering from. Cannabis has come out as a strong as a medicine which can help them, and then they have reached out to us, right? So the use cases are very widespread. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's are two things that we have seen. Diabetic patients use it to ensure that they have a very strong focus on the mood aspects. At the same time, tumor reduction, not cancer, tumor, like benign tumor, people getting prescriptions of medical cannabis for the same, as well as cancer patients, either suffering from post-chemotherapy side effects, either it's your pain or your mood or your sleep or, lesser diet, cannabis medications helps in that.
Right.
At the same time, mood disorders occurring due to PCOD, it helps in that as well. So the use cases becomes heavily distributed and diverse. In COVID, I think there is a published study out of it as well, where cannabis has helped in managing the cytokine storm that happens in COVID patients, right? So that's another. Tuberculosis, as I said, initially as well. This is very established in the text as well. The medicines names are also everything available. So when we look at the entire broader horizon, so many things we can achieve, given that we have the flexibility to kind of get our own hands dirty in the R&D aspects. I'm not confident of the cancer, can it cure cancer or not, because there's a published study, but the results were not 100% in favor of the cannabis. I mean, it was a split, understanding of it. Depression, I believe, I think I may just extend it just from the CBD to more of the entire psychedelic medicines. For depression, psychedelic medicines have come out as a very strong, option for people. But again, every time I kind of try to paint a very brighter picture that we can achieve with cannabis, it always ends with the fact that we need to be given more freedom to do our work diligently, right? Yeah. There's a bunch of people who wants to really make sure that the plant, gets the due fame and the due name, in the most scientific possible way. But the regulators have to trust us. We can probably solve so many health conditions, improve quality of life across the globe. Billions of people, so trust me on that one. Be it pain management, one of the most common arthritis challenges, if you know, right? Arthritis for senior citizens, or sleep, improving the sleep quality, right? Because a lot of things that occurs brings other conditions along with it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still remember I was in college and I had a thumb injury, a fractured thumb, and because of the pain I was not able to sleep the entire night. Okay, anxiety brings insomnia sometimes. Okay, and insomnia can result in anxiety. So there are so many deeply knitted conditions that can arise, and cannabis does this wonderful job of
you solve one problem that has rippling effect in solving other tertiary problems associated with it.
Exactly. And sometimes if a particular medicine, if a designated medicine is not working out, people are given cannabis because it activates your endocannabinoid systems. Okay, now this endocannabinoid system is responsible for our entire wellness, our dietary aspects, our mood aspects, our bowel motion aspects. Okay, so many things are deeply knitted. The reason why cannabis is able to do it, because the CBD and THC, they align, or they have the similar chemical structure as two of the endocannabinoids that our body produces, anandamide and 2-AG. Okay, so by default, our body was made to accept phytocannabinoids, the plant-derived cannabinoids, which we make it. Okay, so it's such a beautiful plant that was designed for the human beings, be it as an internal part of our functioning, or be it something that we can use for roti kapda or makan, right?
Yeah.
You use it for food, you use it for creating hempcretes, okay, and you can use the entire fiber part to create your clothing line, etc. I mean, hemp as a plant is not water hungry as a cotton. Okay, the moment you start including hemp as part of your clothing line, you are reducing a plant. Cotton which is in water.
It's a conservation tool.
Exactly. So if you are looking at a plant that can help you attain all the majority of the goals of the sustainable development and create a more homogeneous or a more holistic living with the entire planet, hemp is the plant for it. Not just medicines. Medicine is maybe one strong use case, but then there are so many
other benefits or other areas that it can be utilized.
Exactly.
Nature's gift that we need to utilize better.
Absolutely.
And tell us a little bit about the products that Happy Hemp is offering to the market, and how can anybody who from the audience that's watching, if they're keen to know a little bit more, where they can get a little bit more information.
So when we were kind of taking the entire starting out, a couple of things, there were two key things that we had in our own mind. See, I mean, there's enough evidence out there, enough conviction to start, but then there's something that you also need to establish. We call it a product market fit, right? As a company, as I said, Impact is a very strong quotient of ours. We saw the existing couple of companies started offering around the same time are keeping the product exceedingly high. As we said, the entire costing is a challenge. So as a company, we decided to offer the same quality product at a much affordable pricing. Okay, so I think nobody has done it before. We decided to take or cut our entire profit, because the idea is to make sure that people gets the product, that the product gets accepted, and obviously we see how we can shape up the entire future of the medicines, not just purely focused on reaping profits on the day zeros of our venture. So we started with one product, single product. Currently we have only one product in the market, Happy Hemp Oral Wellness. It's an oral medicine medicine, which has 10% of cannabis leaf extract along with 90% of the hemp seed oil, mostly useful for sleep, mood, anxiety, pain management, chronic neuropathic pain, or your bowel motions. But as I said, the use case is so wide that we have people suffering from depressions taking it, people using it for Parkinson's, for autism. Some of the diabetic patients are using it, and there's transformations are very very encouraging for us as well.
Right.
So this is this was the one product. Now we will come out with the more products, I believe in next 2 to 3 weeks time. We'll launch an external use case product for arthritis patients, skincare products. Then obviously some aligned on a pilot study that we have it for a rare disease that we have currently under study. Sure. So probably that will take around 6 to 8 months to hit the market, because we need to cover and conduct the entire pilot study before, and obviously get the data for that around it. Right. So our products can be checked out on our website, happyhemp.com, happyhemp.com.
Right. And I'll also put it in the description.
Yeah, that will be really helpful for them to figure it out.
Sure.
And, more and more products, I believe, in making sure that it is accessible to everyone. Very soon we'll also kind of make it a technologically driven venture. So we'd add a lot of technical aspects to it, ensuring that people have the traceability of the products as well as their conditions.
Supply chain as well.
Supply chain as well as their condition management and understanding of the progress. I mean, you use a thermometer to figure out how your fever is doing, right? So creating something on a similar aspects for people to have a better understanding of their progress.
100%. And what has been some of the consumer feedback? And are you seeing that you need to orient the market a little bit more, or your products are a little bit more futuristic, or what are you hearing from the consumer? Or probably how are you reaching out to your consumers?
So a lot of things happens from education. So creating content that is informational for them to understand, A, that this is a medicine that works for my condition, and B, it is a legal entity. So they are the two key messaging that drives the entire consumer movement. There are consumers I've spoken with, and they have followed our page for either the social media handles or my LinkedIn connections, and they've kind of seen us talk for around a month, and they have kind of gained the conviction to procure the product. So maybe from a regulatory or a societal norm, as per the understanding goes, we may be slightly ahead in time because of the taboo. We still are, detachment is still out there that needs to be done. But in terms of use case and the need of the society, we are really, I believe, lacking in time. We're running
Absolutely.
out of time.
Lot that could have been done.
Could have been done even if the stigma did not exist for the cannabis plant, even if the existing what is allowed in the regulatory, if was a part of the mainstream practice, a lot of things could have been much better. But again, the status quo remains otherwise. So two aspects, as I said, slightly ahead maybe in terms of because we have to go and communicate people, but then the shift is happening very fast. A lot of people are now figuring out the cannabis is useful for them, and they are now procuring it. Okay, but again, the propagation has to happen in the masses, which I believe should happen over a period of time. These changes can happen from only two ways. One is either the population asks the government, or the government kind of give you down a policy that kind of detach things. I believe in the LGBT, the entire demonstration. I have seen President Obama change his stance, pre and post the entire all these aspects. I believe if public starts demanding, public starts asking, this is going to happen. But I think that this has been very well noted by the central government. Okay, because this issue was raised in Parliament as well. I think Maneka Gandhi, the Honorable Minister, has done it. And a couple of other party MPs have also done it. So I hope, given the fact that how faster the entire, the wheel is moving on international cannabis, this is going to happen very sooner. In December 2020, the United Nations removed cannabis from a hard drug to a softer, to a substance with a medicinal use cases. And India voted in favor of this motion, right? So the sentiment of the country, at a regulatory stage, was very well understood. And now this is going to get reflected in the policies as well. And once they start happening, it's going to shoot up. People will be much more confident to go about it. Okay, there are people who want to get it, but then some or the other time they need a reassurance, whether coming out from a doctor or probably from their own community. But then once the shift happens, it's just that they will just go for it. So the use cases and the population is already there. We need a little push, which I believe is going to happen very soon, probably in the coming Parliament session. Let's see for that.